Good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is Deepa Sriram, and I am from the Center for Faculty Excellence, and I will be the host for our presenter tonight, who is Cheryl Cullen. And the webinar tonight is Innovative Techniques to Engage the Undergraduate. And today is Wednesday, October 8th, and we thank you for joining us this evening. Cheryl Cullen is from the College of Health Science and Undergraduate Studies, and before I turn it over to her, there are a couple of things that I'd like to go over with you. The first thing you'll see is a new screen in the center, and I just wanted to go over some housekeeping details with you. First of all, you can see it's now highlighted in red, the center part of the PowerPoint, and this is what Cheryl will be using for her presentation tonight. You may also see a few other pods that are now highlighted. The first one is our closed captioning pod, which on your screen should be to your upper left. You also see highlighted is question and pod. That should be in here. You can go ahead and monitor Cheryl. And we will one other thing I want to draw your attention to is now highlighted on our. This is our. So during the presentation, if you have a question, go ahead and click on that. And when you click on it a second time, there should be a drop box that comes, and you will see the. If you click on that, automatically I will do a break, and I will let Cheryl know if there is a question. And I will, at that point, use your microphone. When you are done, go ahead and click on it a second time, and it will close it off. And I get that people are saying they're unable to hear me. Let's see what I can do. Take 1 second. Is that better now? Are you able to hear me now? Cheryl, would you mind putting your microphone on mute for a second? And let's see if that clears up the fuzzy sound. Okay. Is that a little bit better? And I'm looking at your comments as you all are typing them. Oh, good. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Well, during the presentation, only one of us will have our microphone on. But if you should have any issues, just go ahead and type them as you are in the chat pod, and I'll do the best I can to correct any of the problems that we have. So getting back to the center screen, if you have a question, go ahead and click on the hands raised button there, and I'll unmute your microphone. And then once we're done with that, there's also a help button here that you should see highlighted. So if you have any technical issues, please go ahead and click on that in the upper right-hand corner, and that should help you out. Ben, thank you for the offer. If you feel like putting your Bridgeline number in there, that'll be great. I'm hoping we don't need it, and I'm hoping that you're able to hear us now. But thank you for offering. Okay, and as we get started here, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Cheryl, and once again, welcome. Cheryl, make sure your microphone's no longer muted.
Okay, can everyone hear me now? Like an old cliche from a TV commercial, right?
Yeah.
So I thought I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. I have a quote here from Confucius. It's choose work you love, and you'll never have to work a day in your life. One of my favorite management authors is Ken Blanchard, and one of the things that Ken says is that we all need to have work in our life so that we can all say, thank God it's Monday. and that we're so happy to get back to work. And one of the things that I love about my job here at Walden is I really do feel like it's not work. I really feel like I'm having a lot of fun, and I hope that all of you are also. So I thought we would do a little icebreaker and just ask everyone if you'd like to type into the chat box your name if you wish, but what you love about teaching or something you like to do for fun or to relax. If you want to just take a moment and you can type it in the chat box so we can get an idea of kind of what we're all about.
Cheryl, let's give these folks just a second because I'm wondering if everybody's, you were breaking up on me, and I don't know if that's something that everybody else is feeling. If so, if you look at the chat box on the left, Ben was kind enough to give us a call-in number, the 866 number, and we may need to use that if, I see that Cheryl's typing right now, so I'm just going to wait for her comment, and if it's still fuzzy, we may need to call in on that so that they could hear us.
Okay.
We'll just give it just a second here.
Okay.
Okay, Ben says he can't hear anything clearly at all. Okay, Cheryl is just typing her answer in. So let's go ahead, Cheryl, if you don't mind, if you have access to a phone next to you, do you mind calling in that 866 number, please?
Sure. Let me just get my phone.
I apologize for these technical issues, but we're going to try to get them fixed up here real quickly.
Conference center. Enter your conference code. Thank you. Your conference will begin shortly. While you wait, listen to the latest from the newsroom. You will now be placed in conference. To mute your line, press star 6. To unmute, press pound 6. Hey, are you all able to hear me now?
Hi, this is Cheryl.
Your speaker microphone
Jane, are you able to hear me?
Yes, okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right, so I think we have everybody but Scott, and I haven't heard a response back from Scott, so, oh, he's typing. Okay, you can hear him, perfect.
Oh,
We're
great.
all on.
Okay, and thank you, Ben, for letting us use your phone line. Okay. If anyone else would like to share in the Icebreaker something you love about teaching and something you like to do for fun. Cheryl, that looks very interesting that you like to do mud runs. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I do, I enjoy them.
So what do you do? Run in mud? Like, what is that?
Well, the ones I do are the obstacle course races, and, you know, we just kind of call them red runs in the mud. So,
Oh, neat.
you know, they tend to be, you know, cross country, you know, you're out in the woods or, you know, out in a place, and obstacles and crawling through mud and jumping over fire and, you know, whatever they throw at you.
That does sound like fun.
It kind of reminds me of basic training, just minus the live fire.
Oh, great. Okay, Scott is typing. Let's see.
You want it via audio or typing?
You can do either, whichever you feel the most comfortable with.
Well, I can stand a break from typing because I'm
Okay.
Ben Sequoia. I'm the undergraduate program director for our political science and public administration program and our criminal justice program. I love teaching because it's a way of contributing to positive change in our students' lives. Since I've become an administrator in the spring, I'm actually not actively engaged in the classroom, but I hope to have that opportunity again. And my wife and I enjoy traveling to relax and to get a break. Since now I work remotely, it's possible to do both at the same time.
Oh, yeah. That's this is Cheryl calling. That's my husband and I love to travel, and I'm hoping someday I could become full-time physician at Walden so that I can do sort of the same thing. My husband's retired. We've got one more in high school, and then we'll be free. 2 more years. We'll be free. We'll be free. And then I see Scott talks about one thing he loves teaching at Walden is the chance to work with students around the world and always learning more about the subject he teaches. And that's absolutely so true. And he enjoys playing tennis, and he's not very good at it, but that sounds like fun anyway. So I want to thank you all for sharing, and we can get started on our presentation. Hopefully we won't have any more technical difficulties. So our course objectives tonight are to describe transformative electronic pedagogy, identify 2 concepts to enhance student-to-instructor engagement, identify 2 methods to enhance communication, and identify at least 2 Walden resources for students. And we have tool poll questions that we would like you to answer. I think Deepa is going to put them up for us. So for, what's your preferred method of reaching out to a student who has a late or missed assignment?
And all you have to do, hopefully, is to go ahead and click your answer, and I should see your responses.
We have a little highlighted thing, Deepa, that says the poll is closed for voting. To allow participants to vote, click reopen. Okay, great.
Do it now? There we go.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay, so 100% email. Great. Thank you. And then our second question.
And it looks like everybody 100% is the same for email.
Yep, 100% is email for the first, okay, email, great.
I think I've seen the second poll question, though. I only saw one.
Yeah, I didn't see the second one either.
Did you put up the second one?
Sure. Okay, are you able to see it?
Oh, there it is, yeah. Do you use the announcement area for more than the required Walden information? Yeah, 100% two, yes.
And since I don't currently teach Walden, I said no
Abstain.
vote.
Okay,
But if I did, I absolutely would, because that is my experience elsewhere.
great. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go back to the presentation. Okay. So there's, when I did the research really looking at this, I found that there are really three types of learning in that we engage with students. The first is transmissional, and that's really where we transmit facts to students and they regurgitate them in exams pretty much the same way as we present them to them, or they're looking for it in the textbook so they can find the answer to the question and just respond and really not retain anything or are able to apply it to any of their experiences in life. The second is transactional learning, and that is when the student and the learner would have an engagement of information or an exchange of information, but the learner and the teacher really there's no impact to their future learning and how they're going to apply information, and there's really just a casual exchange of the information. And the third is really the most extensive form of learning, and it's that transformative type of learning, and that's where the learner has the information has a significant impact on the student and the teacher, where both have been able to grow from the experience and have learned and have a different perspective about the information in the concepts of the course. And that's really where we want to try to get to when we're experiencing our interactions with our students. Electronic pedagogy, a definition I found is that it's the art of facilitating communication and course concepts that create a collaborative environment where the teacher and the student are learning together in a transformative manner. Yes, I have the reference there. So in our environment, when we look at asynchronous threaded discussion, really the way the instructor facilitates the unit interaction in the discussion board really can aid the student and really promote that collective learning in the classroom. It allows times for the students to critically think and reflect. So that really gives an advantage to students that possibly are shy, or they maybe need a little more time because they can't think on their feet as quickly, and it gives them the ability to really critically think and reflect on the information and what's getting discussed in the classroom. Also, it gives the opportunity for students to rethink about their previous assumptions. Sometimes if the student is kind of getting off on a tangent in the discussion board, it gives the instructor or even the peers the opportunity to kind of push them back onto track, because their peers will challenge them, and the professor really, as the facilitator, can kind of maybe pose a question to them, get them back on track, and really start to get them to really rethink what their opinion was. Also, the students do learn from one another in that environment, where peers will engage each other, or they'll maybe give a critique of what of what another student is doing, and it really helps to engage them and learn from one another. And again, the peer-to-peer challenges and the engagement is really the most fun I like to see. And I know when I see peers like are having a good conversation with one another, sometimes I'll kind of butt into it and maybe give another comment, or I could throw in an experience I had, or give a little question, and then it'll start to spark a couple other students to get into that conversation. And so that's really kind of some of the benefits of what we can do in asynchronous learning compared to in the classroom. Because I've taught also in the on-ground classroom, and I just see that when in this asynchronous discussion, I see students that would not have been successful in the classroom setting in person be more successful in this setting. And this is another place where we can maybe have some interaction, like some of the things that I always ask myself is like, how does the student know I'm actually there in the classroom? How do they know I care about them? Do we have interaction outside of the classroom? And how do you respond to that perfect discussion post? The student that follows the syllabus to the T has everything met, like all the criteria they do. Everything is like almost perfect. Like how do we engage them to try to think and push them a little further? So I have some discussion with some of my colleagues in College of Undergraduate Studies in Health Sciences there, and we're like, well, no one is perfect. There's no perfect discussion, question, response. So we have some discussion about that, because it's like, well, if the student met all of the points, then can they get a perfect score? But then how do we push them to think about something else, or does the professor just ignore that discussion post and not say anything? So that's why I thought I'd maybe look to some of your comments about any of these. That how did you interact with students, like so that they know that you're there and you're giving them good feedback? Does anyone have any comment that they would like to share?
One of the things that I do, and I'm sure everybody else does it as well, is I do give very individualized feedback. And then I'm also very responsive to people, send me emails. I do try to get back to them as soon as possible. I did really like what she had to say about response to the perfect discussion post. We have discussions about, is there such thing as a perfect position in CMT? And, I think, people have different philosophical beliefs regarding that, but I do think that it's possible to adhere to a rubric or what have you, but to then continue to push students further on an individual basis. And that's really what I try to do. I try to keep everybody, Cheryl, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I just heard from the captionist that she's unable to hear you. Is there any way that, it looks like, just check to see if you can also unmute your actual microphone on your screen. But I'm going to try to unmute you and see if that can work as well, okay? Okay, I have your mic on as well, so I want to see if you start talking now, if Jane's able to hear you. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry, that was good. Oh, she's able to hear, so we're great. Sorry.
Great.
With respect to the perfect discussion post, I just wanted to share that I do try to adhere to, any institutional rubrics that, may have been established. But I also work with students individually to try to, take them further and further by asking questions, asking them questions to help, take them a step further. The my approach is basically to ask questions and have them, dig a little deeper.
We actually try to spread with our instructor across
Okay. One of the things that I've done is sometimes some of the discussion questions have two parts. Like you can pick to answer this problem or that problem. So, and I'll ask your opinion if you think if it's maybe pushing them too hard. So if the student gives me this perfect response to problem A, I'll sometimes ask them their opinion about a piece of problem B, because then I know that they really need to think about that part too, because they really are, they have the capacity to really answer both parts, but they chose maybe one over the other. So I sometimes do that also. So do you think that, in your opinion, with your experience that you have, do you think that it's like okay to do that, or have you ever done anything like that to kind of further challenge them to make sure that they understand all of the concepts of that week? No.
Yeah, this is Carol. I do that,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
And one thing, and I don't teach at Walden, but I do have experience elsewhere in on-ground and online environments. So in an online environment, for example, in special posts, one of the types of special questions I've encountered in the MBA courses that I've taught, deals a lot with theory. So the students generally have to respond to this theory in more of a theoretical context. So what I try to do when I see somebody who appears that they really, really understand the theory is to kind of prompt them to take it to the next level and talk about the application side of that.
Okay.
It may not be what the discussion post is about, but it's just kind of a logical progression of, can you talk about or theory in business or what have you, or economics, but, so I would ask them a concrete question in more of an application type of context.
Okay. Oh, great. Okay. Thank you. Personal stories, again, helping the students apply the concepts also helps them understand them, and they can remember them and recall them when they're moving forward in their life. What I like to do, one of the things in the class cafe, when students share maybe what their work is, what part of the country they live in, sometimes I'll put some experience. I'll try to jot myself a note so that, especially because as you know the content of the course, then I'll try to kind of pull that question, or I'll give that question maybe to a student to ask them to apply some of their work experiences, because then I really feel that they're able to apply the concepts, and students have given us some feedback that they like that when we give them our stories and we are able to help them connect that. Another thing is current events. I know some of the discussion questions sometimes ask the student to find an article on a certain topic, and a little caveat that I'll sometimes put in there is, and I'll tell them that it has to be within the last 3 years or 4 years, so that we know that they're going to have a current discussion on current events topics. Sometimes students just read the headlines or the first couple lines of an article, so they might have a misconception about a current concept. So then, I find myself making sure I'm pulling up their article, reading it, and then I help them apply that. And so these are just other things that I think can help students really learn the concepts of the course and apply it, and then they're able to take it into the future courses with them. Even as contributing faculty, I have some I teach 3 courses, so sometimes I'll have the same student again in another course, and so I'll try to remember, sometimes my memory is not that good, but I'll try to remember how they did in the previous course, and so I'll even try to make comments, like I had one that was not a good writer, and we did a consult to the Writing Center, and when I had her again, it was much improved, and I made that comment to her, and she much appreciated that I put that comment in the application that I noticed. So I think those are other experiences that we can make sure we connect to the students and help them apply to the concepts of what we're trying to teach in the courses. And then, again, these are some of the Walden resources that I know probably all of us use. The Writing Center, Student Handbook, Faculty Handbook, APA Manual, Library Frontline Support. I don't know if any of you have any other resources that you use that, you know, that you can suggest, because I know that, again, I know the Writing Center is probably the one that gets the most hits from all of us for helping students, and the APA manual. You know, we all have. I know all of us have those favorite tables or sections of the manual that will say, you know, check this table out. You know, table 6.1 tells you how to, you know, do your references and things. And so it's really trying to make sure that we're engaging the student and they're using all of the resources that we have available for them. Does anyone have any other resources that you would like to share that you use for students or suggest to them other than the ones that I have listed?
CMP has tutors for accounting courses, and we have some computer labs for our School of Information Systems and Technology, and then we do have some programs that are incorporating content and professional specific information on their program website.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm going to add that because I'm going to do this webinar again, so I'm going to add those just verbally, with your permission, to the next time I do the webinar, because I'll add those. I wrote them down. Those are good suggestions, and if any of you can think of any others they'd like to email them to me, I would love to have them so I can expand my list, because I know we all have our favorites. And then structure to student communication, and these are just the regular basic ones: class announcements, emails. All of us are using that. The rubric, discussion board. Do any of you use Jings in your in any of your classroom that you have created yourself? Have you used any personal ones? If you do, could either raise your hand or just speak up.
Never encountered it anywhere.
Okay. Who said yes?
It's Caroline. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. I've been using Jing to get, you know, audio.
Okay. Do the students like it? Have they given you feedback on that?
Actually, we haven't been doing the experiment long enough to
Okay.
get you know, any kind of response, but it's an active experiment that we're running at.
Oh, neat. That's neat.
And I can share that in CNP, we have been doing, when we first started calling them warm welcomes for new students and in classes students typically take in their first term, we've kind of shifted that away from what they call a warm welcome, but they are now kind of referring to it as, I believe, more of a student success type of webinar that the instructors in some cases put on, you know, for example, in the first week, or it's done kind of more in a more formal capacity as a broader menu type of webinar.
Oh, that's great. Great. Thank you.
It doesn't replicate like the overall overarching Walden student orientation. These are specific to programs in the course specific endeavors. They are specific to the course.
Okay.
It's just another way to help students get on board, and it provides more of a real-time interaction because they're live webinars. webinars, although they are paid, folks can come back and visit them if they missed it.
Sure. Wow, that sounds good. It's almost like the other stuff that you don't get from maybe reading the student manual or getting that regular orientation program. It's kind of the other things. Is that what you're trying to kind of fill in the gaps of some of the other resources?
Exactly. It's more program specific if it's more at the program level, or very course specific if it's being done, within the context of a specific course. They're all kind of designed around, not necessarily the overarching institutional type of issues the student would deal with, but either very program specific or course specific.
Wow, that's awesome.
The hope is, the hope that it helps the students engage with the faculty and people in the program and with each other. And I didn't know if that would fell under the category of instructor-student communication, so I thought I'd toss it out there.
I think it does. That's where I think sometimes the student that, especially the undergraduate, that many that have not gone to college before, I think they don't know what to expect, and I think something like that can really help them understand that that through our communication, even though we're not seeing each other face to face, we can solve a relationship, but then that almost makes it more humanized for them and human, that we are really people that are engaging them in this typing in this classroom that we're doing. That's really a great suggestion, or a great thing that you're doing. I'm going to suggest that for our college too. I think that's a great idea. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Our program directors are doing newsletters, not just to a particular student or class, but to students in the program.
Mm-hmm.
Those obviously require a lot of work because you have to take those through the student editorial process and so forth. But that's another kind of a broader example of student communication.
In our program, the College of Health Sciences, our program director, she has she calls it a morning cup of coffee, and so she does it every quarter. She sets up morning meetings and invites students to come on like a live chat with her and like a conference call, and she really engages them, and a lot of students do attend it, and they really like it, having conversation with her. So she's done that 2 times now, 2 quarters she's done that, and it's been successful to really help students engage, and because we want to retain them, and they've come up with some really good suggestions for her, and really when we did our lore book, even some of the suggestions from students that she had gotten on one of the courses, we did make we're going to be making a few changes in how the timing of some of the work is done in one of our classes. So so that's what we've been doing. But I also like the idea of that live Jing kind of or like that webinar, that in person, just that to give that more, fill in the gaps. Here's what our program does, our little niche, our little nuances, or whatever. And I think that's a great idea, and I think it's something that we should maybe look to do in like all the different programs, especially the undergraduate programs. Thank you. And the next I have is to enhance announcements. Setting up like the application setup and expectations. I have one of my announcements says, okay, this is the APA format for your application. I don't want it in like 20 fonts, crazy script thing. So I give them those expectations in there. How to get all of the peer response points, even though it says it in the rubric, great job, still like we see some of that, and so they'll do that for 2 peers. So we really, I give another announcement and really give some more additional information that if I ask you a question, I really do want you to answer it. And also really looking at what really is part of that. So I kind of break down some of that information in the about the peer response and try to give them a little more information than what's even in the syllabus. Putting in, a weekly announcement, a plan for the week, or Maybe if there's a holiday or a special day. I live in New Jersey. We had 85 inches of snow last year. We usually have maybe 25 inches of snow a year. So we had a big blizzard where I think we had 32 inches of snow. So I put like a picture on there, and some of the other faculty that I work with, we do the same thing. Also, enhancing our, our profile with pictures or images, and just trying to make the announcements fun to see if we can get the students to actually read them, because that's really the challenge of, I guess, what we're trying to do to communicate with these students, like how much sometimes students say they have too much to read. So these are just some things that we've done in our college to enhance try to get our students to increase their comprehension of them, and also to know that they need to read the announcements. What students say, these are comments that we took off of our surveys from the College of Undergraduate Studies in Health Sciences, that the students love that all of us, the faculty, when we share our knowledge and real world experience, they like that. It helps them, as we talked earlier, retain the concepts, and it really makes the stories kind of make that experience for them also when we encourage them to share their own stories. Students like that direct feedback that we can give them, very specific, and talk about their strengths as well as their weaknesses, and really look at their progress over the course of the semester or quarter, or whatever you teach. Like we teach in 6-week quarters in undergraduate in our college. Some feedback was to try to limit the emails we send them and to use announcements more. They want us to address them by their name, and not so that they know that we're talking to them in the discussion board. And that's an announcement that I put as an announcement, and I put that in the first couple of weeks as like the first discussion response. I just do a reminder, please, when you're responding in the discussion, put the name of the person you're speaking to so that we know who you're addressing. So that's and that's feedback we got from our students. They also like when we challenge them in a respectful manner, and students like texting. I do text students, and what I do then is I can forward it to my email, so I do have a record of it. I tell students that I need their name in their text when they do text me, so I know who it is. But I've had maybe 2 or 3 students text me that there was an emergency in the with the family or whatever, and they wanted to just let me know that they can get that paper posted. Like one guy, his wife went into labor, and he was going to be late, sending me his paper, and he sent a text message, and a couple other students, it was just some like emergency situation. And as I said, I forward that to my email so that I have that record. And then we have some final poll questions, and then just some like housekeeping. A link to the recording and a copy of the presentation will be emailed to you. And if you could complete the feedback survey, I would appreciate the opportunity to improve my presentation. And I do appreciate your comments and anything that you could add. If you liked it or didn't like it, I really would appreciate your feedback and your comments. So, and then we have 2 more poll questions. Deepa, if you could put them up for us. Okay. Okay, so let's see. We have everyone does the discussion. And the answers of the discussion, great. Contact instructor. Okay, great. Let's see. All right. Thank you very much for doing that one. And we have one more question for our final poll question. Okay. Who said that? Great. I want to thank you all very much for participating in our conference and our webinar tonight. So you get the gift of time of a few extra minutes to spend with family or friends. Maybe take a few minutes to maybe fill out your feedback survey for us when you get it in a day or two. And I just want to again apologize for the technicalities. I want to thank Ben for sharing his phone number with us. And really, everyone have a safe evening and travel safe if you're traveling. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody. Just as a quick reminder, CFE will send you an email. You should get it tomorrow, and it will have a link to both the presentation as the PowerPoint slideshow. There will also be a link for the survey. They get it at the end of this in case there are technical issues, which should also be attached to that email that you get tomorrow. Thank you again, and for all your patience and thanks again to the line. We appreciate it. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you all. Bye-bye.